So the third test between the All Blacks and France, done and dusted. All Blacks have swept the series 3-0. Final score in this one, 49 points to 14, ended up being 7 tries to 2. Rico Ioane got a hat-trick, 2 for Damien McKenzie, also Ben Smith and Matt Todd. For France, it was Saran and Fofana going in for tries. It wasn't all plain sailing for the All Blacks. I mean, when you look early on, Damien McKenzie must have been, I guess, feeling a bit of pressure because he threw an early intercept pass. Fortunately, it was to one of the French loosies, so he didn't quite have the gas to really make anything from it. But France had a lot of early ball. You know, they went 12 phases before the All Blacks managed to get the ball, and then they went 21 phases. Still not enough to crack the All Blacks' defence, but it was, I mean, just crazy stats at the start of the game. 90% kind of territory and 80+% possession for France. Really knocking on that door. Teddy Thomas kind of almost went through with a little chip, so France just needed to get out to an early lead, and they kind of weren't able to do it initially, but eventually they did manage to get the opening try to Saran. They were a few metres out, and he threw a wee dummy. Jack Goodhue and I think it was Aaron Smith inside him kind of bought it, and he just went straight over the line. Pity for both teams that they both lost kind of key players early. Adi Savia went off, as the commentators kind of alluded to. He doesn't get that many chances to start at 7, so it was a pity for him not to really show us what he's capable of. And for the French, their captain, Morgan Parra, went off as well, so a bit of leadership gone there. So yeah, that was a pity for both teams. Frizzell also went off fairly early, but managed to come back on, thankfully, so it didn't kind of spoil his debut. I have to talk about the ref a little bit here. The All Blacks did, turn down 3 early on and managed to get their opening try through Ben Smith. Turned down another try, 3-pointers, and got one through Matt Todd. So they were in the lead, 14 points to 7. Fofana got his try. Again, Goodhue missed the tackle, so he didn't have his best night, old Goodhue, in a team which was, for the most part, pretty good. I mean, not terrible, but certainly not, hopefully, his... well, in terms of All Blacks games, hopefully that's not his last one. And I doubt it. Just there's certainly room for improvement for him. Damien McKenzie got a try, his first one, and I'm not sure if the referee has played like American football as an offensive lineman or what, because he did a pretty good job of blocking the French player from making a tackle, and he did have a look at it with the TMO very briefly, and I wrote down the TMO's words to him as the referee put it on the screen, because the ref was like, yep, sure, that's all good, I'm going to award it, and George Ayoub, in a very dubious sounding tone, said, "Are you happy with that, John?" And he didn't sound happy with it, but the ref was just like, no, that's fine. It's fine. I'm not in the way. So the All Blacks took a lead at that point. It had been 14-all. It's just bad news because before this game, one of the French guys had been saying basically that whenever you play the All Blacks, it's like playing 16 on 15 because the refs favour the All Blacks. So then there's the ref literally blocking a runner or a tackler from making tackle. I don't know if he would have made the tackle. D-Mac is pretty quick, and the halfback had some ground to make up, but it just doesn't look good. I should say credit to the French early on. Lots of passing, quick hands, offloads. It was really intense stuff for that first half. So despite the fact that the All Blacks win in 21-14, pretty fortunately with that try, it had been a pretty great half of rugby. The stats were France 62, possession 68% territory, 13 offloads to the All Blacks 3, 13 defenders beaten to the All Blacks 5. So France were all over this first half, not quite on the scoreboard. All Blacks defence was able to hold at key moments, but it was a proper test match. Second half, not so much, just because the All Blacks didn't concede any points. It's pretty hard to beat the All Blacks unless you can score at least in both halves, I would say. Rico, well, I should say D-Mac started the second half with another almost intercept pass, so both his halves were not started in a perfect manner. But, I mean, overall, the guy had a pretty good game. Ioane got a couple of tries. One of them looked kind of dubiously forward. They didn't quite show an angle, which had it at an angle, the camera at a place where you could really see if his little back pass through to Rico Ioane was forward or not. The referee was happy with it. But yeah, so Rico ended up getting a hat trick because some poor decisions from the French. They tapped at one point when they were in their own half, and just the All Blacks turned the ball over almost immediately, went and scored a try. Although Frizzell was denied a try, this time by the TMO. There was another interesting conversation between the ref and the TMO. God, I hate going on about the refs and the TMOs. But the ref was right there and awarded Frizzell's try. Yay, try on debut, hooray. And then as the commentators were just talking about what a great game he's having, they showed one angle and I was like, did he get that down? Because there looked to be arms under the ball, and then the TMO did his whole check for the ref, and the ref was like, nah, I saw it, he got it down. And then, unless you can tell me otherwise, as if to say, don't overrule me here, I got that. And then this time, Ayub really put his foot down and said, no, I've got a definite arm under the ball, that's not a try. I looked at it just initially and thought they looked held up to me, but I mean, the ref was right there. I don't know. Either way, the All Blacks got a try pretty much immediately after to Ioane. He got his hat trick, so it didn't really make a difference at the end of the game. French set piece really costly in this one. I mentioned the French taking a tap in their own half. It's because their line-out was rubbish. Scrum was under a bit of pressure. They did get one scrum penalty awarded for them, but they were still under a bit of pressure. Line-out was not really going according to plan. All Black guys were stripping them in the tackle in the second half. It was happening a fair bit, so lacking that same intensity of the first half, the French, and the All Blacks just really started to rack up the points. In terms of the other guys who made debuts, I mean, Richie Mo'unga came on at 69 minutes with the score at 49-14. I would have liked to have seen him on a bit earlier because there wasn't much doing at that point in the game. Game was in the bag. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a lot happening. Perhaps because Sonny Bill went on early, they had to put Geordie Barrett on early, so they wanted to keep him as another back reserve. I don't know, but that was a pity he didn't get more minutes because we didn't really get to see enough of him to tell anything from that one. But yeah, at full time, the stats were pretty much even in terms of possession and territory, so the All Blacks definitely had the better of that second half. They managed to even up those stats, which had been so far in the French favour for that first half. The French only managed to offload 3 times in the second half. That was compared to 13 in the first, so it just kind of shows a bit of difference as to the way the game was going. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. This whole series has had every game with a real talking point about the officials, and all 3 of them going in the All Blacks' favour. All Blacks at home, in theory, don't really need help from the refs, but they seem to be getting the 50-50 ones in most cases. So yeah, it's pretty much a 20-minute period that cost the French, between like 40, 48 or 47, in the late 60s. It was just, I think, 3 or 4 tries. So yeah, better showing from the All Blacks for sure compared to last week. A fair bit slicker. We expected that. The guys on debut. Frizzell did alright, like I said, good Hugh. Not his best evening, but we know he can play better than he did. Mo'unga, we didn't really get to see that much of him, so it's really hard to say. I feel like there was another debutant, but it escapes me at the moment. The French lock who came on, I can't remember his name. He had one part where he got a good open run, so good on him, although he did have the ball stripped by Scott Barrett at one point as well. So yeah, overall, as the series went, kind of according to plan, the All Blacks were always supposed to win this one 3-0, and they did it. But yeah, really just disappointing about the officiating. What do you guys reckon? Was the ref right to award that try, or did you think he legitimately got in the way? Thoughts on the game generally. I'm about to sit down and watch Ireland and Australia, so that hopefully will be a fair bit closer than this one. But I think compared to last week, we'll leave pretty much happier viewers. Yeah, because that second test wasn't the best. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.